Yeah, we'll all wait on tenterhooks to hear Joe talk about some of his workers, but we'll begin with Ed and work our way across. So, what are the social and environmental sustainability issues associated with the industries of your members? And what are your thoughts immediately about addressing these?
Yeah, because we represent workers in so many different industries, I think it's probably going to take me too long to cover all of those industries. So I think I'll just focus on finance because it's probably the most concerning area for most people. You know, you're talking about multi-billion dollar enterprises and the way that they interact with social systems. So looking at the question of can finance actually be sustainable long term, I think the answer, well, I mean, a couple of years ago, I might have said, no, there's no way that it can possibly be, and we need to bring down the whole system completely. But I recently read a book by David Graeber, which is a 5,000-year history of debt. And he talks about how debt preceded money historically, and that debt's not, the way we understand debt is not the way debt has always been understood. And actually, debt is just a way of tying our social obligations to one another together. And that if I'm in debt to Heleyni and Heleyni is in debt to me, we might not actually necessarily want to pay off all our debts because then that means we just don't have any reason to talk to one another anymore. It's a way of expressing social relations, and you know, I'd like to continue to talk to Heleyni at times. But we work in the same office. Obviously, there's extremes of this, right? And anybody who's been watching the Greek situation right now will know that debt's a pretty scary thing when you're talking about how a small group of people can control the fate of an entire nation. But the thing that I think has been missing from that entire debate is the sense of reciprocity of obligations. That there's an idea that Greece could actually say, well, you took a risk on lending to me, and that wasn't a very good risk, so you're going to lose out of this exchange, and I'm going to be the winner because you've already got a lot of money out of me. So I guess what I'm trying to get across is the way we conceptualize the financial industry right now is not the way it has to be all the time, and I don't think it's necessarily going to be the way it is in 20, 30 years' time. It's kind of hard to see that right now when we have companies like ANZ who are, you know, taking $1.7 billion of profit out of this country, who are funding 49 new coal projects at the moment, or engaged in land grabbing in Cambodia, or in child labour, and all that kind of shit. But that's, I mean, it's interesting that ANZ happens to be the bank of all of the banks that we deal with where workers have the least control over the operations of the industry. And the more we can get to the point where workers actually have a say in how those industries are structured, the more we can start to say, yes, I think that could be a socially and environmentally sustainable industry in the future.
Thank you, Ed. A nice succinct point at that then as well, as soon as we get to workers having a say in how the business runs.
Yeah, it's the advantage of writing your answers in advance.
Okay, well, so Unite mainly organises casualised workers, so fast food, cinemas, casino. A lot of our members are quite young. I think the average age is 26. But a lot of the workers are even younger than that. And I guess, well, social implications of fast food, that's a nice discussion. But I guess what's interesting about the workforces that Unite is organising at the moment is really that, you know, fast food restaurants or sort of, you know, McDonald's and this kind of McJoel model is something that is it's sort of tried out in fast food, or, you know, it's kind of like at the forefront of where the battle is in terms of the capitalist class exploiting the working class. So, you know, an example of this is obviously the 0-hour contracts model, which, by the way, is basically pretty standard all over the world. It's been pretty common in New Zealand for about 20 plus years. So it's not like every single job I had before I worked for Unite Union, ironically, was a 0-hour contract, even at the museum. So, you know, it's kind of like a generational thing. If you go into a job where you're just told how many hours you're going to get every 2 weeks or every week, you presume that's just going to be the case for well, that's just how it is for a while there. So, basically, I guess the social implications. What's the question again?
Social and environmental.
Sorry,
How do
social
we address
environment,
them?
sure, okay. Well, yeah, so structurally this is important in terms of how capitalism functions, because it's about oppression, and it's about jobs being structured in a way that can oppress people the most. And one of the key ways that casualisation is so oppressive is that in its very nature, it atomises the working class. So it's difficult for people to have conversations, to have collective conversations. So that's why I believe Unite is a key area, especially in the media movement, but also in social movements and unions like it. Organising casualised workers is really important, figuring out ways for atomised society to come together. Is that answering your question?
Lovely, thank you.
The word is emotional connection. Yeah, they do. I think it'd be fair to say that.
Oh, Joe, why don't we address that one later?
Yeah, so what do we do?
So, the social and environmental sustainability issues around.
Social and sustainable environmental issues.
Around, I guess, the industries
Industries.
of the workers whom you represent. And how do we begin to address them?
I think the other two speakers just addressed it quite well, but I think with the workers, they do have a say in what happens when we're going, Big problem when you talk about the capitalist system, the problem that we've got is that anyone that works for an employer or is self-employed, you're actually a slave to the wage system. So in turn, you actually enslave yourself to it. So until you get rid of that, you won't actually be able to address all of environmental aspects. So if you take zero, and you add, if you add zero profit to everything, gold, diamonds, everything, and just produce for satisfaction, well then that in itself will help the environmental stuff. Because in the end, you don't have to, really, if you're looking at extracting minimal oils, minimal gases, minimal industries, minimal coal, etc. Because you're only providing for satisfaction. Currently you've got, and I'm not getting into this, the race thing, you're currently China, and they have been backloading coal. They've just been buying bauxite, everything out there, taking it back to China and just dumping it in the sea. Because they've got nowhere else to put it, so there's mountains of it just sitting there. So now they sit on one of the biggest controls of coal, everything going in there. We'll probably talk about that. And that's what they're doing. So they're just snaffling it all up. They're like Pac-Man out there, It's like the big, it's like the sleeping giants awake. And they've done it, you see. So, my personal view is, once you take, the profit, you take the value away from everything and just produce for satisfaction. Why do you have to go ahead and create all the, environmental atrocities, all these things, You don't have to just keep extracting oil from gas. You don't have to exploit workers. Because if you can't provide to society, then you just go to a supermarket. Why don't you just go to a supermarket and just take what you need? Because they're going to go and run away with 20 TVs. What are you going to do? You're going to watch one, then you're going to go and sell them. What do I want to buy a TV for? I'll just go and take them on the shop. So if you have a society like that, very sort of out there, but if you applied those principles to it, you wouldn't have unions, you wouldn't have anything, employers, because you'd just be, everyone would be working for satisfaction, for the working class, for humanity.
Yeah.
So, so if you impose those sorts of things there, kind of fixes a lot of them. But because we're slaves to the capitalist system, talk about Wall Street, it's there. It's just what we do. So at the end of the day, workers probably look at, the most economic thing, is economic, is making a living. Paying your way, paying your bills. That's really what a worker looks at now. So yeah, it's sort of.
Cool. Thank you, Joe. So,
I just want to ask Joe a couple of questions. I remember a few years ago, the Maritime Union had a big campaign going around cabotage. And in the intermediate time, there's been quite a lot of reports about 4 and 5 vessels here with really, really bad conditions on board for crew. effectively slave-like conditions. So I'm just interested to know kind of what your views are around that, because I think that's a big issue for workers around the world. But also I'm interested to know, like, where is the Maritime Union at in terms of things like the Auckland port expansion? Does that represent a benefit for workers? Have any of the workers in Auckland been asked what they think about it? Does it represent more jobs? Because you're talking about these big dredging projects that are going on.
Yeah.
But if all they're doing is bringing in big super tankers, where there's fewer and fewer jobs, like,
Yeah, you're right.
ultimately that may actually not, in the end of the day, be worse for maritime workers than.
It's actually quite a strange one, you should say, if you want, because $3.5 million dispute is what paid, to have the fight with Ports of Auckland, and their main sole goal was to get rid of us off the waterfront. We're still there, and then the CEO returned rings me and said, will you support us going into court, and support the extensions into the Gulf? So they can't, just doing all these things, it doesn't create any work. Because all it does is, if you've got a wharf that's 100 metres long, and you make it 200 metres, just go into the Gulf an extra 100 metres. Now those same workers, that might create 5, maybe 10 jobs at the very, very most, but it won't create any permanent jobs. All it was just the employer just want to put on a couple extra casuals. So, to the extent, that was a lot fudged out of it. So, no, it wouldn't create that much, what they reckon it would. And all they're doing is, it's not going to be bigger vessels, container ships coming in. All it was going to do was create, I don't know how you have, a passenger vessel turns up, comes here, there's 2,000 people, and at the end of the year, that local economy flourish, flourish by $500 million. How does that work? And yet the other figures that they say, there's all these great things, Your people come into Wellington, walk down the wharf, walk around, have a look around, buy a couple of pairs of shoes, that's cheap or whatever, a few ornaments, and then go back, and all of a sudden it's great for the economy, So there's all these things there. And the other part you mentioned was, so I don't think it creates any work
Right.
at all.
Just about all the foreign flag vessels.
Well, you're right. Well, I'm an affiliate of the International Transport Workers Federation. I sit on the international board. We've got 5 million affiliates, and we're the main union that supports and does all the work for foreign seafarers, foreign vessels coming in. We have spearheaded with the surveys and that with the fishing industry. We're spearheading, making sure that 2016 all the foreign vessels are covered by New Zealand law and legislation, opposed to having slavery on the seas. So the New Zealand reputation, great green, having everything there, fresh fish, everything, all green lands, that was very tarnished in the world market because of all these multinational employers getting out there and it was slavery on the seas. That's exactly what it was. So we put a lot of boundaries in place for them, to take away the atrocities that's happening out there. We've had seafarers out there, just on the fishing on New Zealand coast, being killed, thrown overboard, then come and say they jumped over. All sorts of atrocities, massive container ships coming in, you walk down the edges because of Asian fruit. They have old, 3-4-month-old lives, and that's that. They've got fish if they catch it at the side of the ship. So there's all those things. This is just happening just down here in New Zealand. It doesn't get publicised because, that tarnishes the New Zealand image. So yes, that's still there. Still happens, and we still speak
Heleyni. Thank you. So this is approaching the first changeover of the evening as Michelle and I trade places.
Were there any other comments or questions around looking at that big picture, I suppose, about the issues, sustainability?
I'm one of those who was very opposed to the Trans-Pacific Partnership and the implications for tarmac and any environmental things that we may want to introduce in New Zealand being challenged by multinationals. Are there any particular aspects of what we know about the Trans-Pacific Partnership that are likely to impact on unions and what they can do in terms of their members?
Yeah, there are.
No, there are.
There's a couple of areas of the agreement that are really concerning in terms of the union space. The first is the rights for investors to sue countries when they change their laws. And the obvious example of this is the case of Veolia versus Egypt, where Egypt decided that they were going to raise their minimum wage.